Welcome everybody. As you can imagine, there's almost over 100, and in fact there's more now, nearly 140 odd attendees this evening. So it's great to see so many of you here joining us today on this way that we've been scouting for the last year. We're all zooming in, but this way we can all fit into the room. I think it's pretty good. A bit standing room only. Just a few notices. Obviously, this webinar, as it says at the bottom of the screen, is being recorded. That's so we can use it again, and our champions can use that to continue to push the or to put this out to other people as we go along further. The other thing is, if you do hear a fire alarm, don't worry. We'll have to worry because one of us on the screen here is in a problem. You'll be fine. It'll be our house that's on fire, so we will rush out quickly. So before we start, I think let's to get things going, let's have a quick look at the teaser video. I know some of you have seen it, but this will set the scene quite well. Fantastic, thanks, Sarah. So very quickly before I hand over to the next to Simon, just a few welcomes and introductions. I've already done that. Welcome. You're gonna be gonna get a few things about the event. It's going to be all about the fun part, the journey, the opportunities for adults, the cost, which is important for everybody, the next steps, and at the very end of this, we will be doing a question and answer session. And what we ask you to do, please, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A bubble. If you have any questions, throw them into there. Sarah, who's with us as one of the team, will collate all of those, and we'll come back to them at the end and hopefully be able to answer a load of the questions, because if we've got similar questions, at least we can answer a batch at a time. Okay, fantastic. Simon, I will hand you over to Simon Pickett now.
Welcome again from me. So I'm Simon Pickett. I am Deputy County Commissioner for Berkshire Scouts, but also for the purposes of this evening, I'm the event leader for Alps, for our expedition to the Alps in 2022. So we've got some good stuff lined up for you this evening. We're going to talk you through where we've got to with the planning. We're going to talk you through some of the program ideas that we've got. We're going to talk to you a little bit around opportunities. We've got quite a wide audience to get to tonight. So I know on the call we've got some scouts, we've got some explorers. I think we've got some parents of some scouts and explorers. We've probably got some Scout Network age people. I know we've got some Explorer Scout unit leaders, we've got some district commissioners, and we've got leaders from all sorts of sections. So a very broad and very diverse range of people that we've got on the call this evening. But for every single one of you, the purpose is to give you the information that we think you need to make a decision on whether you think Alps 22 is for you. We're not at the stage yet of saying after this call you need to say yes or no whether you're coming. This is very much about information giving at this stage. So could we go on to the next slide, please, Phil? In fact, go on 2 slides. That's it. So let me just tell you for a couple of minutes what this is all about. What's our vision for this thing called Alps 2022? So we're calling it a Jamboree in the mountains. Some of you will have been to a Jamboree before. Maybe you've been to a World Scout Jamboree. Maybe you've been to a Wings or something like Wings. Maybe you've been to some other international Jamborees, or maybe you've just been on a large Scout camp or a large Explorer Scout camp. That's what a Jamboree is. And what we're doing is we're taking the Jamboree and we're just putting it in the middle of the Alps. Hence why we're calling it the Jamboree in the mountains. To be eligible for Alps 2022, you would simply need to be a member of an Explorer Scout unit or a Scout Network aged person at the time we travelled to the Alps in August 2022. So minimum age to be an Explorer Scout is 13 and a half, more likely to be something around 14. So as long as you're going to be an Explorer Scout member or above at the time of the event in August 2022, you'll be eligible. If you're an adult on the call and you're wondering whether you're eligible for various roles, you will hear a bit more about that a little bit later on in the presentation. We've set the date for the trip, so we are fully booked. I'll show you the campsite in a minute, but we are booked for the 16th to the 26th of August, plus travel days on either side. So the idea of the Jamboree is that we will open the Jamboree in the Alps on the 26th, and we'll finish it, on the 16th, and we'll finish it on the 26th. But we'd like you to do a bit of a Jamboree experience at the front and the end. So we're expecting you probably to have a 14-day overall Jamboree experience. We're planning the event for you so that there's something for everybody. When we started out on the planning, we envisaged this being purely an adventurous activities trip. It was all going to be whitewater rafting, it was going to be canyoning, it was going to be mountaineering, it was going to be climbing. But then we thought, hang on a minute, that's great for some people, but there may be other people that want to do a little bit of that, but maybe they want to do a little bit of other stuff as well. So the whole beauty of a Jamboree is that you can do a whole load of things. And that's what we're going to try and do for you. And as we go through the process, we'll also be shaping it based on what the participants want. We know that the participants are going to want to have fun. We know you're going to want to make friends, and we know you're going to want to challenge yourself. That's fairly common for all Scout events, so we'll make sure that's built in as well. Probably one of the most important things at the moment, given where we are coming out, hopefully, fingers crossed, from lockdown, is it's giving us all something to look forward to. It's been great, actually, with the planning team and I. There's 6 of us on the planning team at the moment. We've had about half a dozen, maybe 8 meetings now, and it's been quite amazing when we've been sitting on those meetings for an hour or two. You can forget about the world out there and all the problems, and it's been so nice just to kind of start to plan something nice for the future. And I think that's what Alps 22 will probably give you all as well. This is not just a 2 weeks in the Alps trip. This is a long-term project for you and your units. So for those of you that have been on Jamboree experiences before, you'll know that it's a good 12 to 18 months of planning. It's a good 12 to 18 months of training, a good 12 to 18 months of fundraising. So you can build this into a really good long-term project for you and your unit, not just that 2 weeks in the Alps next year. For unit leaders, so conscious that there are unit leaders on the call, some of you would have done this stuff before, and some of you may not have. So for those of you that have not done this kind of stuff before, you can rest assured that there's an experienced leadership team being built around this, so you'll get all the support that you need to do it. And I wanted to make the point also that this is going to be an environmentally friendly and carbon neutral event. So Berkshire Scouts have a policy now that whenever we travel large distances, and particularly when we go overseas, we always have an aspiration to make our events carbon neutral. So we'll be building in that into our plans. And as you'd expect me to say, unfortunately, that last point on the list, all of what we're going to say to you this evening has to be, unfortunately, subject to COVID restrictions at the time. We all believe, and we hope, and we've got our fingers crossed, that there'll be nothing to stop us doing this trip. But obviously, as I'm sure you'll appreciate, there's always the possibility that something could change that might mean that our plans have to change along the way. So let me tell you a little bit about the locations where we're going. So Phil, if you can just move me on to the next slide, please. So here we are. So this is where we're going. So we have got a site booked. It's in a place called Saint Crepin, if I've pronounced that right. It's quite close to a place called Briançon. That's probably the nearest large place. So you can see on the map of France on the right-hand side, you can see roughly where we're going. So we're going almost all the way down to the south of France. We're in the southern part of the Alps. I looked on Google just before we came on the call, and it tells me that it will take us 11 hours to drive from Calais to the campsite, which is about 2 hours from Grenoble and about 3 hours from Lyon. For those of you that have been perhaps skiing to the Alps, you'll recognise this picture, this kind of scenery. This is what the Alps looks like in the summer. This picture is taken from the website for the campsite that we're going to use, but it's almost written exactly for our purposes. It's amazing. So what you can see on here, you can see a green tent on the picture. That's where our campsite is. And if you look quite closely, you can see the campsite is right next to the river. That's the River Durance, if I've pronounced that correctly. And you can see if you can look really, really closely, you can see a little bit of white water in there. You can see some soft water. It's a perfect river for giving us the great balance of what we need, giving us all levels of water experience. You can see the mountains in the background, so that's going to give us plenty of opportunities to go hill walking, Plenty of opportunities to find some nice rocks to climb. Parents, don't panic. We're not taking people climbing up in those great big mountains. It's all going to be done within the abilities of the people that are doing the activities. So plenty of opportunities for hiking, plenty of opportunities for mountain biking, plenty of opportunities for paddle sports. And actually you can see just to the left of the tent, there's a little picture of a glider. So we do actually have an airport right next to us. I don't think you can fly into it. You can probably fly by helicopter, but there is opportunity there to do parascending and paragliding and other bits and pieces. So almost every activity that you can possibly want is on that picture. But as well as that, coming back to the point I made earlier about this being a jamboree for culture as well, we're right in the heart of the Alps here, so we'll be building in lots of opportunities to have cultural experiences, trips to towns, trips to cities, and other opportunities for you all. So a great location. We have been there before, so quite a few years ago now, but the Berkshire Scouts have been to this site before. It is a site that we do know. So that's the bit about the event and a bit about the location. What I've asked Connor O'Neill to do now is, and Connor's our head of program, Connor's going to talk you through a few slides to give you a flavour of some of the program activities that he's got in mind for the Jamboree. So I think over to you, Connor.
Hello, everyone. Yes, thanks for that introduction, Simon. I'm going to try and talk a little bit slower than I usually do. I tend to get quite excited with these kind of things, so I'll choose my words carefully. But hopefully, I'm going to give you a bit of a taste of kind of what you have to look forward to in the Alps. So with the location of the campsite, we're in a fantastic place, to try out some of these the amazing wild water of the Alps and do some whitewater rafting. We've got some fantastic views which we can take in through our mountaineering and kind of hiking around the local area. In addition, as Simon said, we've got some fantastic climbing areas around the campsite, so things like for via ferrata, for abseiling, and for rock climbing as well. So some great heights for you to try and conquer and explore there as well. And finally, one of the things I think I'm most excited about, we've got some fantastic kind of canyons and gorges around the campsite too as well, which we're going to have the opportunity to go exploring and do some canyoning there, okay? So hopefully you are all ready to make a splash after having a look at some of these pictures here. So just to give you an idea of kind of some of the adventurous activities that we're looking to do. So with the whole point of this trip is to try and get you guys to do some activities that you wouldn't necessarily get to do in the UK. And so the Alps offers you plenty of opportunities to do these kind of activities here. So looking at that canyoning, some of that whitewater rafting, some whitewater kayaking as well. So not much whitewater kind of around here in the UK. So hopefully we can get you guys all on the water to do some kayaking. And as well as that, we're looking again at providing climbing, mountaineering, and also potentially mountain biking. So these are just some of the ideas that we've got at the moment. We might not be able to do some of them depending on kind of, what equipment we can obtain and the leaders, but we are trying to put on all of these kind of activities, okay? And there's obviously other activities that we might be able to do as well. And so we mentioned the airport and the gliding, and so there might be a chance for, some people to do some additional activities there. But we also do have a bit of a focus on culture as well. So here, one of the big things that I wanted to take from, I was lucky enough to go to the World Jamboree, and there's a whole host of evening activities. So I'm going to try and put on a bit of an evening program for you guys to keep you entertained on the campsites, as well as doing some local culture visits and some city trips as well. So we're really lucky, we're quite close to Turin, we're quite close to Marseille and Nice, and so hopefully we can get some city trips as well into our program. So the whole point of this trip as well is also to give you an opportunity as explorers or as network members to get your top awards. So there will be an opportunity for anyone who wants to do it to take part in one of your D&E expeditions to help you get your diamond, your platinum, or your Queen Scout awards. Okay, so if any of you and your friends want to take part in those activities, that is something which we can also try and run as well. So a whole host of different activities for you guys to take part in and to try and to get involved in. So I think the program is definitely one of the most exciting parts of this trip, and I'm really excited to kind of build that for you guys when you get signed up. If you have any questions about any of that or want to ask about things, kind of what there is in the local area, pop it in the Q&A function and we can chat about it at the end. Cheers, guys.
I think that's over to me now. I'm Phil Wood. I'm leading up the infrastructure and the logistics side of this. So I'm just going to talk a bit about the journey and some of the leadership roles that we have available. So as Simon mentioned at the start, we want to make sure that part of the Jamboree is including the journey getting there. So that should be half the fun to get there. So the next slide. So we want you to travel with style and in style. Okay, so getting to the Alps should be part of the adventure. As a unit, you should be thinking around, why not think about the journey to or from the Alps? So either on your way down or your way home. Discuss with your units and look at what you can do en route, where you could stay, for instance. So there's, as we've said, we're quite close to Marseille. You're going to go past Paris on the way down, or you could stop off at any areas like Lyon. Think about your transport as well. So you could take the hovercraft across. You can go on the Eurostar, take the ferry, or you could fly there. And you don't have to fly into France. You could fly into somewhere like Turin, spend the day in Turin, overnight in Turin, in Italy. So the options there are almost completely up to you and what you want to do there. But please do think about making that journey part of the fun. We are going to provide as much support and guidance as possible. So we are reaching out to travel agencies, we're reaching out to local contacts and things so that we can put together support that you can tap into and ensure that you're able to complete this and get to us safely and in an enjoyable way. As we said, if there's any questions and stuff around any of this travel stuff, please do put it into the Q&A and we'll come back to that at the end. So, opportunities for adults. So what does the Alps have in store for adult leaders? This is aimed at those who are over 25, who are not coming as, over 18, are not coming as network, as coming as a leader or to support the trip. So there are opportunities for everyone. So of course we've got the Explorer units. So we are going to need unit leaders to travel and to organise and to manage the Explorer units. We're going to have Scout Network units. So we're going to encourage anyone in Scout Network that wants to come out and participate as a participant rather than as a service crew leader or a delivery team leader is to join that. And we're going to have unit leaders for that. Of course, there's going to be the event delivery team. So that will be the international service crew and things that we'll need. There are district supports and district champions, and you'll see those have already been lined up for everyone, and we'll share those names in a bit more detail at the end. And then, of course, then there's Jamboree leader supports generally. So a raft of roles for you guys to think about and have a look at. Quickly then, to give you a who's who of the team. So you've got, starting in the middle there, Jamboree lead is Simon Pickett. We've got finance, Kirsty Aldridge. We've got Ian May, who is on the unit support. We've got Sarah Barrow over in marketing and comms. Myself down there for logistics and infrastructure. We've got Bob Meldrum for safety. And of course, we've already heard from Connor for program, and we are still looking for a Scout Network coordinator. So if this is something that you think you could do to come and join the core team and work with us to build the program for Scout Network, please do let us know, and we'd love to have a chat with you. Of course, the teams will expand and grow as we get closer and closer to the Jamboree date. So you may see some more of these with other names and stuff appearing for other roles. So just quickly touching on the district champions. So they are your point of contact in your districts. So the way that this is being run, as Simon has said, this Jamboree is being run by the county, but your organisational stuff is being done at district level. So initially, if you have any questions or anything, please do, outside of this call, please do reach out to these guys and speak to them and ask them any questions, because they'll be managing it and advising anything to do with the Alps 22. We are in regular communication with them. We're providing them with a raft of tools and toolkits to support them in their role as district champions. So the unit leaders role and what's in it for you. So as unit leaders, this is taking a group from a district, or it could be from a joint district, depending on the numbers, but leading a unit from a district. You'll be responsible for the young people that you bring out to the Jamboree, and of course you'll be responsible for organising that travel to and from and anything that you wish to do on that journey. But don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you though. And Connor is working away, planning some leader activities for the programme. So we're looking at spaces for leaders and adventurous activities, so you can take part in some of those fun ones that Connor has already shown. Opportunities to explore the local towns and cities, of course. We're looking at some specific leader trips to sample some local cultures. We're also offering it out there for you to gain experience in international trips. So the reason for us pushing for you to have a think about the journey out there is that actually this is a great experience for you to plan international trips in the future. And of course, it's going to add, hopefully, experience to your permit log if you are, for instance, coming out as an instructor. So how are we going to recruit the event delivery team? So there's plenty of opportunities to get involved. Some of these are down to activity instructors and helpers. That could be for hill walking, the climbing, the water activities, mountain biking, etc. Definitely, we need a lot of leaders on the infrastructure, logistics, cooks, drivers, and service crew. We need people to take on the leading of the cultural trips and visits. We need some Jamboree support leaders. We'll need first aiders. We need fundraisers, and that's a key one actually for districts and units to think about is fundraisers. So not necessarily going to be coming out to the Alps with us unless they wish to, of course, but they're key in regards to the funding and the money side of things. We're also looking for, as we said, a network unit leaders, on-site program leaders, welfare coordinators, and we're paying close attention also to mental health first aiders. There's going to be some youth forum coordinators, and then of course there'll be some general support in the UK to help support all travel and kit and such like. So I think I'm handing it over to Simon.
Thank you, Phil. So we've given you a bit of a whistle-stop tour there of the sort of programme activities that are on offer for young people. A bit of an overview of what's on offer if you're an adult thinking about coming along. And we've put some thoughts what actually, as I'll explain in a minute, would well cost you nothing. There's a little teaser for you. So this could be a trip that you pay nothing towards. Now, how do you do that? Phil, could you change the slide for me? Here we go. So I've got two slides. This one's just slowly coming up. There we go. So two slides. One's fees for participants, and the next slide I'll talk about likely costs for adults attending the event. So if you're an Explorer Scout or a Scout Network aged person, we estimate the cost at the moment to be up to $1,150. I say up to $1,150. I think it will be less. But just at the moment, we've got some complications. We've got Brexit, we've got COVID, we've got all sorts of complications around which are making pricing of events like this quite difficult. So we've erred on the side of caution. We've had to build in quite a large contingency. I'm hoping that we won't need to use it, but we're saying the maximum price will be $1,150. That includes all of your camp fees, all of your food is fully catered, includes all of those activities and more that Connor's already talked about. That includes getting your unit kit from the UK down to the campsite, travel insurance, all the travel and transport while we're down there, and of course all the fun you can handle. What it doesn't cover, of course, is the travel to and from, because it's down to the districts to work out how they want to travel down, or units, how they want to travel down. So some units or districts might decide they want to stop off in Paris on the way, for example, and that might add a little bit of cost. So there's a little bit of flexibility in how you travel down. We will be asking for a deposit of £150 payable on booking. That's plenty of time for that. I'll come on to that in a minute. And obviously we'll be making available staged payments. I think that will be payments sort of around about November, probably one in around about March, and probably one in about June next year. So plenty of time to gather money together to help you all out. Now, this is the point that we need to emphasize. Fundraising for a Jamboree is really, really important. It is half the fun, it's half the experience, and it's half the learning, at least, of a Jamboree experience, is raising the money yourselves. We have plenty of experience of people going on these Jamborees and raising all of their money. I had just a bit of personal experience. I've got 2 daughters. I had one of them go to Uganda and one of them go to the World Scout Jamboree, both in the same year, potentially costing me up to £8,000. I paid nothing towards those costs because the girls, with our support, fundraised all of that money. So it'll take a bit of effort, but it's worth putting that effort in to raise the money. So you could raise all of that money quite easily, I think, if you wanted to. So the point is, don't get put off by price. That's what the price is, but we can help you raise that money. So that's participants. Phil, if I can move on to the next slide. So if you want to come on the event as a unit leader or for the event delivery team, obviously the price is adjusted. We're not expecting you to do as many of the activities, although some of them are included. So for a unit leader, we are looking at around about £500, again, plus your travel costs to and from the Jamboree. We can't guarantee this, but we would hope and expect that districts will provide some financial support to their leaders. Most districts normally do for these sorts of events. And again, of course, you'll be able to have access to the staged payments process. And of course, you could fundraise yourselves for the event. There's nothing to stop you doing that. Event delivery team, similar but slightly different. So again, probably around about £500, but we think we'll be able to arrange some central group travel down for you. We're not quite there on the plans for that, but that's broadly where we expect the price to be. I suspect the price will be slightly less when we get down to the detail. Some grants and subsidies will be available to help you with that, and again, staged payments and fundraising. So this, the same point I would make about participants I make to adults. Please don't let price put you off. There's always a way to deal with the financial side of these events. But that's where, those are the sorts of prices that we will need to charge to cover the event costs. Oh, that picture there, I found that, sorry, let's go back up. So if you do want to attend as on the event delivery team, we've arranged some very special sleeping accommodation for you. And we've got a little preview picture there. So this is how we're managing to keep the prices down. So you don't actually get a tent, you just get to hang on a bit of a wire in the middle of the Alps. So that could be quite exciting, actually. I think that's a bonus. Moving on, Phil, so let's go on to the next steps. So let's assume that you've listened to that and you're quite interested in this trip. What do you need to do next? So if you're an Explorer Scout, actually this slide should say Explorer Scouts or Scout Network. So if you're an Explorer Scout or a Scout that will be an Explorer Scout or a Scout Network person, you're interested in coming, what you need to do is talk to your mates, talk to your friends, talk to your unit leaders, and start to build a group of people that might want to get together with you and attend this event. We've talked a little bit about districts attending this event. We perhaps didn't make it clear enough at the start of the presentation. You can come to this event as your Explorer unit if you want to, or you can get together with different units and form a district unit. It's totally up to you. We're quite flexible in how you do it, but you can't just book straight onto the trip. You won't be able to say, I want to come, and book on straight with the county. It will have to be done through your unit or with a combination of units getting together. So that's what you need to do if you're interested in becoming as a participant. If you're an Explorer Scout unit leader on the call, now what do you need to do? You need to do the reverse. You need to start talking to your members, selling the event to them, seeing if they're interested in coming and helping them to build some plans for attending the event. If you're an adult on the call and you're interested in being part of the event delivery team, or perhaps one of those roles that Phil talked about on that slide, probably early next week we will be launching a little application process. So you'll be able to register your interest with us with specific skills. So, for example, if you're a hill walker or a climber and you've got permits or governing body qualifications, we obviously want to hear from you. But similarly, if you want to come along and do a bit of cooking and a bit of catering or a bit of driving, we want to hear from you as well. So that'll be the first thing that opens up. Probably next week you'll see that. A reminder that we've got the district champions in place. Most of them are on the call this evening. The champions had already had a briefing a couple of weeks ago. We had them on a call, so they had a bit of an insight, a bit of a preview of what we've told you this evening. So they're a little bit more along the curve, so they should be able to help you. But one of the things that you might like to do is to invite either one of the district champions or one of the core team that have been on the call this evening, perhaps to attend one of your unit meetings or one of your district meetings. We'll be very happy to come along and talk, either do a presentation or talk or answer questions, however you feel you want to do it. So unit bookings will open. You'll be able to book as a unit during May. So during the second half of May, we will open up unit bookings. So between now and May, we're giving you the opportunity to start thinking about it, to talk to your mates, talk to unit leaders, start to build some plans. And then from May onwards through to July, probably we will open up unit bookings. So units will be able to book numbers of places and pay a deposit at that time. I've put in brackets there, we've put in brackets there, first come, first served. The reason we've said that, because we do have minimum and maximum numbers for this event to work. We have minimum numbers because there are some quite high fixed costs attached with the event, so we need to get to a minimum number to make it work financially. I will be amazed if we don't get to the minimum number. But similarly, there's got to be a maximum number. We do have the limiting factor really of instructors and being able to safely take large numbers of people up into the mountains and onto the water. So we do have a maximum number. Somebody's bound to put in the Q&A, what's the maximum number? I'll answer that question now. It's a ratio question. So it really comes down to the ratio between adults and young people that we can get, and permit holders and activity instructors. So it's not an actual number, but it's kind of the ratio between the two that's important. But there is a principle here that the more people we get, the lower the fees will be. So that 1,150 number that I talked about, if we get large numbers, that will be passed on to you. So we won't keep any surplus money, obviously. And if we get sufficient numbers that we can reduce the price, then we will do that. And lastly, coming right back to the point I made at the start on COVID, we're obviously planning this in very unusual circumstances. Nobody's ever planned an event like this during a pandemic or coming out of a pandemic. So we're having to do things slightly differently. And the way we are protecting everybody is we're building in a number of checkpoints. So we're building in a checkpoint in September, and we're calling it a go, no-go decision. So in September, we'll sit down and we'll review A, the numbers of people that we've got signed up to the event, and B, we'll review the current guidance that we're getting from both the Scouts and the government on whether we think the trip is feasible or not. If at that point we think the trip is not feasible, obviously we will communicate that and any deposits paid will be returned. But hopefully you'll understand we need to have that checkpoint in place just to review where we are at the time. Hopefully in September we'll be able to proceed, and at that point we'll be all steam ahead and we'll be off. But we do have to have that caveat built in. So there's your next steps. I think one more slide to go before we get into answering some questions. And we've probably covered this largely anyway. So what do you do if you want to know more? So our website, which is on there, if you look at it from Monday or Tuesday next week, we will have an updated frequently asked questions section. We haven't done that now because we wanted to wait till tonight to see what sort of questions came out, and we will make sure that the Q&A document is updated to reflect any questions that come out this evening. There's also an email address on there, alps22@berkshire-scouts.org.uk. So if you have any specific questions following this, feel free to email that email address or contact your local Alps 22 champion that we've already mentioned in this presentation. So plenty of ways of finding out more information. But if there's anything that kind of crops up at any time, you kind of know where to go. So that's our presentation. We'll open up the questions now. I think Sarah, our marketing and communications lead, is going to have a look through the questions that have come in and going to do a little bit of sharing for us and pose some questions to the team, I think, Sarah, and see if we can answer some of them.
Yep, so we've had some excellent questions that have come in. So I'm going to start with the ones around the programme for Connor. So hopefully Connor is still with us. The first one is from Gringo, who asks, is there any Via Ferrata in the area because he's a military leader?
Yeah, there are some Via Ferrata routes, definitely. So one of the things we're going to do later on in the year is go for a bit of a recce around the local area and have a look at kind of what kind of good climbing locations are available and what we can offer as part of that level of program. So when we do go out and have a look, we can kind of come back with an idea of what we can offer in terms of Via Ferrata, but there are definitely routes locally for sure.
Okay, Wayne has asked, I can answer the questions about the River Durance. I have kayaked it many dozens of times and I'm a level 3 coach. So we've got Wayne who, any questions around the river, we can ask him for advice.
Fantastic.
And then we had an anonymous question, which was, do we choose the activities we do or are we guided to certain activities in order?
Part of the kind of the whole idea behind a Jamboree is that everyone gets to do everything. Now, we're not going to try and force people to do things if they don't want to do it, but everyone will have the opportunity to do every activity that we have on offer. And so what we'll try and do is cycle through the activity. So each day you'll be given the opportunity to do something different. But again, we're still working on the idea of how to offer the program, so things might change. But hopefully we will give everyone the opportunity to do everything.
Okay, so moving on, this is probably one for Phil. Around the number of leaders in the, well, it might be you as well, Connor, in the event delivery teams. We've had a few questions around the limit of leaders that can go. So do we have a limit in the amount of leaders?
I think the answer is at the moment no, because as Simon said, as the more leaders we get coming, the larger the ratio is of attendees that we can have participants. There will be, of course, once all the roles are filled, there will be a kind of a cap on that. So if we do get a huge influx of people signing up, which is great, we'll be looking through that and targeting kind of the roles that people want to sign up to as well. So it's down to the number of people that sign up. There's no distinct maximum, should I say, in total, because unless all the roles are filled, and I think the same would be for Connor as well.
Okay. And along that line as well, Emmanuel has asked, can assistant leaders come as well? If yes, which cost applies?
Absolutely. So any leader that holds a full appointment on campus can attend this Jamboree as long as your training is up to date. I'll slip that in. But yes, any leader that has a full appointment on campus, so that's section leaders, that's explorer leaders, that's assistant section leaders, that's sectional assistants, that could be coaches, activity providers, activity advisors, etc. So as long as you've got a full appointment on campus, you can attend.
Okay. Another question here about reaching out if they want to be a volunteer of part of the event delivery team. And I think we've already answered that one because we said that we will have a process available soon for people to book into that. So I think we've answered that one. This is one for Bob. Will the travel insurance cover cancellation, curtailment due to TSA, UK Gov or government restrictions?
There's no one at the moment, it's very difficult to get cover if there is a government restriction because of COVID-19. And Simon has already explained we're going to take stock in September, so we make a sensible decision on that. What I can say is the policy that we're looking at, which is with Unity, will cover you if you fall ill with COVID-19 during the event. You'll get medical treatment.
I think it's fair to say, Bob, isn't it, that we're not really expecting to get cover for COVID-related cancellation. I just don't think that's going to be feasible. It's one of the things we're going to review in September. But unless you know otherwise, Bob, I don't think insurance companies are really insuring that risk, are they, at the moment?
Apparently there are one or two people who will do it for business, but you can talk about a premium which will probably be bigger than the event fee.
That's right.
Okay, question from Alfie here around the logistics. Do we do our own travel or will the unit do it? So I think there's a big question around who is actually going to organise the travel.
Yep, so your travel to and from and any activities that you wish to do to and from the Jamboree site in Saint-Crepin will need to be organised by you, you guys in your units. So it's a decision for your unit leaders and those participants in that unit. And as we've said, we're strongly encouraging you to make a journey of it. But once you're on site, everything is covered for you. So you won't need to arrange any travel once you're on site.
It might also be worth adding that our insurance policy will cover you on the way out and on the way back, even if you take a week or two over it.
A question here around programme. Are there formal qualifications required for activities like mountain biking?
So for the young people, there's no requirement for the young people to come out with any past experience. There will be hopefully opportunities within the units to do some training before they come out, whether it be kayaking or mountaineering and that kind of stuff. But there's not actually any level of formal kind of skill level we're expecting young people to have. For people who are running those activities, there will be some requirement for permits and past experience for people who run them. But for young people, no, we don't require them to have any kind of experience.
Okay, and as part of the event leaders, what's the minimum age to attend as an event leader?
18. Sorry, Simon, I think I jumped in before you could speak there, but it's 18. It's the date that you can have an adult appointment. Okay.
Will there be a kit like at WSJ?
So in regards to bags and stuff, no, probably not. We will be supplying a necker and potentially some other clothing, or there'll be opportunity to purchase some other clothing, hoodies, t-shirts, etc. But in regards to the kit that you got for the Jamboree, which I think was a nice big bag and a load of apparel and stuff like that, no, that won't be provided. That will be down to you to supply that as if you were going on a 2-week camp. For that, so no, we won't be providing a large amount, but there will be some specific items.
So here's an interesting one. How are some ways that we can fundraise?
There's loads of different ideas for fundraising. I think one of the things we could potentially do as a team is to push out some ideas as we go forward. But there's a whole host of things from bag packing and car washes to, trying to do things within your group. There's a whole host of things you can do. And so one of the things we can look to do kind of in the coming kind of months as we start to get people signed up is push out some ideas through district champions and those kind of things to give you guys a kind of a starting place for fundraising.
I'll just add a few things there. So there's all sorts of different ways of doing fundraising, but the ones that are most successful are the ones that are done locally, in my experience. So we'll do some central ones probably, but the ones that you can organise yourselves in your local units. I've been to some fantastic race nights. They can raise a few £1,000s in one night. Even things like sponsored hikes, sponsored walks, sponsored anything, to be honest, you can raise quite a lot of money by sponsoring yourself to keep quiet for half an hour, can't you? Whatever you like. It's amazing how much money people will sponsor you to do this sort of thing, because this is about developing you as an individual and challenging you as an individual, and people like to support young people to do that. So you'll be surprised.
Question here around the mix of adventurous activities and cultural ones, and it says, will we have to do many of the adventurous activities, or will we be able to do more of the cultural activities?
Again, we haven't quite decided, how we're going to separate the activities, but we'd like to give everyone the opportunity to do everything. But again, we're not going to force you to do something you don't want to do. We're not going to force you to go climb up a via ferrata or go kayaking down the river. So if you do want to potentially do some more of the cultural side of things, we might look at a possible way of you swapping activities with other people, or, if there's spaces elsewhere, you can, try to shape your program a little bit more. But again, we're in the very kind of early stages and just trying to, put together some activities. We're not quite sure of how we're going to kind of split up those activities, but we would like to give everyone the opportunity to do everything if they choose to.
And I think we're also thinking about grading the activities, Connor, aren't we? So, yeah. If you take climbing as an example, if you're really experienced in climbing already and you want to do some really adventurous stuff, you can do that. But if you've never done it before, we'll be doing some lower level stuff as well. So suit your experiences, but challenge yourself is probably the way that we'll be approaching it.
For sure, definitely.
Right, we've had two questions that are the same, asking about the sleeping arrangements, whether they're tents or dormers buildings.
So Simon's already explained about the leadership sleeping arrangements on the wires. We'll be in tents. So you will need to provide your tents for yourselves, for your units, and for yourselves, and they will be shipped out for you if you wish it to be. But no, it will be tents. We haven't got buildings or dormers.
Okay, question here around parents who are leaders, and they've asked, can their family come?
Not if they're not in scouting, I'm afraid, no. We would discuss individual circumstances with people, but probably not.
Okay, the next one is around, do you have to have a Berkshire Scouting role to join as part of the event delivery team if, for example, you have a role in a different county or national ASU?
No, that's fine. So we'll take people from other counties. We will give you a Berkshire County role for the time that you're working with us. We'll put you into one of our ASU units. But as long as you've got a scouting role somewhere in the UK, that's fine.
Okay. Do we have to have a, oh, sorry, I've just done that one. Can we make up a hybrid unit with explorers from multiple groups?
Absolutely, you can. Yep, and actually we would encourage that. I think we're expecting that to happen quite a lot. We really want that to happen. We really want districts to kind of get together with their units and work out how best to do it. But most units we're expecting to merge together. Yep, so if you've got friends in different units, start talking to them. It'd be great.
And just to touch on that, and I think that this will answer one of the next questions coming up, though, is that in districts, you could have multiple units. So you could have, depending on groups and things, or explorer units, you could have multiple units going, or you could have one central district unit, or if there's not enough to fill one unit in one district, you can share a district across districts and stuff. So there are multiple ways of doing it.
One point I meant to make at the start and I forgot to, and I'll make it now. If you are interested in this event, you go to your unit leaders and they're not interested in helping you do it, please don't give up. So please find some way to contact us and we'll put you in touch with other people locally. And if you want to go, we will find a way to help you go on the trip.
Okay, a question here around arrivals. Will all units need to arrive at the Jamboree on the same day?
No, we will give you a date that you need to be on site by. A date range that you need to be on site by. So we'll tell you the start of the Jamboree, which is when everyone will be on site, and we'll give you a date that will be on site. So there will be a time frame because we don't want you arriving before we get there, and we need some time to set up. But yes, we'll give you a date range to arrive in. Ideally, also due to travel and stuff, we will be, if we are going to support some collections from local train stations and things like that. Ideally, we don't want everyone arriving at the same day for that kind of purposes. So we'll work with you guys on that when the time comes.
Back to the leaders, there's a question here around, I'm currently an occasional helper, though I am looking to be an assistant leader. Can I come as an occasional helper, a full role?
It's not, but we can work with you to work out what the best option is for you. There will be options. You have to do a little bit of training, but it's possible. But not as an occasional helper, no. We would have to upgrade your role and talk to you about that.
Okay, back to travel. Will you provide advice or suggestions for travel out there or link ups with other units to minimise cost, e.g. hiring coaches, or is it up to each unit to sort that out themselves or in groups?
So the option is out there for anyone to do it however they like, ideally. But so absolutely, if you want to link together in regards to getting out there with other units and splitting that cost, please do that. That's absolutely up to you. As we said earlier, we will be providing contacts with Scout-friendly travel agencies. We're speaking to the Eurostar. We're speaking to SNCF, the train companies in France, to understand what offers they can provide and support. And we'll put that all into the packs, and that'll be fed out via the unit leaders and via the district champions, so that you can make the best choice you can. But we will support that. We'll give you local airports and things like that you can get into and stuff like that. One thing I will say with coaches, ideally if you can avoid using coaches to get out there, we would suggest doing that. One, it makes it a bit more fun. You don't want to sit on a coach for, I think you said 7 hours to cruise. Simon said 11 hours. There we go. Or if you are going to coach, stop over. The other thing, and one thing we found, is coaches for some reason are incredibly expensive at the moment to get out there. So think of different ways. Hence why I didn't have coaches on my slide deck. But there are loads of other ways to journey out there. But that's not saying don't use a coach, but do think about other options.
Okay, question here. Do leaders, such as those able to deliver activities, have to attend for the full period, or is there an option for a shorter period if the individual does not have the holidays for the full period?
Yeah, everything's possible, Sarah. So that's absolutely, just get in touch with us. If you could only come for part of the event, we'll be happy to have you for part of the event, for sure.
Another one for the event delivery team. Can a list of permits be provided that is useful for the delivery team? So a list of what permits we're looking for people to be able to hold.
Yeah, so that'll be on the form that we send out that you'll sign up for. There'll be a list of tick boxes and then you can go into detail about leadership, supervisory and things like that. So absolutely that's available, yeah.
Are activities going to be 100% run by Berkshire Scouts, or will we be using local guides, e.g. for canyoning and rafting?
Where possible, we will be using Berkshire leaders to run them. Obviously, there's some activities which we can't or we don't necessarily have the permits to be able to run them. So whitewater rafting is one of them which we're looking to ship out, and also canyoning as well. But as many activities as we can run by leaders, we will do to try and keep costs down.
Okay, there's a question where they need a bit of clarification around the dates. You mentioned the actual dates for being at the campsite, but also mentioned earlier times before and after that make it a fortnight event. Was that just a suggestion for any explorers to do something in the area before or after?
I think I said that at the start, didn't I? So yeah, just to clarify, so the actual Jamboree runs for 10 days from the 16th to the 26th of August. The 2 weeks thing was exactly that. It was a suggestion. So if it's 10 days out there, if you spent 2 days traveling there and 2 days traveling back, it kind of gets you to around about the 2 weeks. Or you spend 3 days getting there and go straight back. But you can make it as long as you like. You can make it a 3-week trip if you like. Obviously, you need to budget and price that. But hope that clarifies it. It's a 10-day Jamboree plus whatever you want to put on either side for travel.
Okay, somebody's been very clever in French here, and they said, "Nous parlons en français pendant 15 jours." And the answer is, oui, tu dois parler seulement français for that person. So the question is, do we have to speak French for the 15 days? And the answer is yes, absolutely.
Je jouais au foot.
A question for Bob. Does Via Ferrata fall under rock climbing, mountaineering, or both in terms of permits?
Via Ferrata is regarded as special terrain and needs special permissions. We don't have the competence in the county to do that, and if we provide Via Ferrata, we will use an outside contractor.
There's a couple
Does
of...
that answer the question?
They won't be able to reply, but yeah, we'll make sure that's included in the FAQ responses so everybody can see that. There's a couple of questions where I think people have got a little bit confused about whether or not this is an international event or whether people are coming from other countries. So I think if we can just clarify that this is a Berkshire event.
Yeah, this is an Berkshire members. This is our special Berkshire only, invite only event.
And then just to add to that, Joanne Rutter was a little bit late, so she's apologised for asking a question that we've probably already asked. But she said, how many explorers will be attending? Will the groups be mixed, sex, district, international? What are the opportunities for mixing? And how are the explorers kept safe?
Well, that's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So on the numbers, as we said, we don't know. So it depends how many people want to come and the ratios. We've got across the county, we've got something like 600 or 700 Explorer Scouts. I don't know how many of those might want to come. Plus there'll be some kids who are at scout age at the moment. So, I honestly don't know on the numbers how big it will be. So that's it on the numbers. What was the other bit? Sorry. How will they be kept safe?
Yes.
We obviously this trip will be run strictly in accordance with the Scouts policy organisational rules document, which obviously has a very high element of safety attached to it. I've asked Bob to take on the role particularly of safety. So we've got someone on the core team who's specifically looking at safety, and that's what Bob's done for most of his career as well. So you've got a highly qualified person there. All of the activities, as Connor's mentioned, will either be outsourced to people that we will do sufficient due diligence on, or will be run by our own people that have been suitably assessed and permitted to do those activities. And things like safeguarding and all that kind of stuff obviously will be run in accordance with the normal Scout Association rules. Did I cover everything in that, or was there anything else in the question? There was quite a bit.
Yeah, I think
that was
one final bit about mixing, about will districts and units be mixed? And the answer is yes, they most likely will be, as most Explorer units are.
If an adult has expressed interest in helping, when will we need to make a decision about coming and the roles?
Shall I take that one as well? So we'll open. So if you want to come as a unit leader, you should start talking within your districts about that, and kind of work out amongst yourselves how you want to play that. If you want to come and join us on the event delivery team, I think we mentioned we'll open up the sort of application, we call it application, more of a register of interest or volunteering site probably next week. We'll probably leave that open for, looking at Phil a little bit on this one, I don't know, a month or so, Phil, do you think, just to get initial levels of interest? So what I would suggest, if you're interested, I would put your name into that form. You won't be committing yourself to anything by doing that, but you'll be alerting us to the fact that you're there and potentially interested, and then we can pick up with you and talk in a bit more detail about what it is you might or might not want to do. Anything to add to that, Phil?
No, I think that's covered it all. Simon, I think you're right in that regards. It's speak to us and let us know, and we can work around it if there's problems.
A question here around overnight hiking. So will we be able to arrange overnight hiking staying in mountain refuges?
I think the answer to that is possibly. Sorry, it all depends on what we're able to do, what permits we have available to us out there, and the scope of it in regards to safety and security.
A question here from somebody who will be expecting their A-level results. What will internet access be like? I'm a little concerned that the event may clash with exam results day.
So I can give you that answer. So we had this question comes up every time we go away during the holidays. So we took 100 or so kids or explorers to Uganda, and we were able to get enough internet out in Uganda so everyone was able to everyone that needed to was able to check the results, was able to speak with the universities and the schools that they're required to and do that. So do not worry, we will make everything available for you so that you're able to do that. If we can do it in Uganda, I'm almost certain we can do it in France, even if we have to drive you to Briançon or Marseille even, or something like that. We will make it work for you. Do not worry.
Carry a pigeon.
We did the past at that site, so we can do it again.
As I say, I got my AS results in Aragon 9 years ago on a Berkshire Scouts trip, so you'll be fine.
We look forward to celebrating with everyone when they get the results they need.
Yeah. So we've got a couple of French speakers here. So Emmanuel said we're French, we can help with the translations. So that's
Brilliant.
Good. We need people, local cultural guides, so that's always helpful. And also somebody who said that they spent their childhood in France close to the Alps. So they wrote that in French. So again, more French speakers, which is always good. There's lots of French speaking actually, so that's all good. Right, for B2 water kayak permit holders, will this restrict us from providing activities on white water?
Yeah, for the water that's in that area, we're probably going to need B3. But if you've got B2 and you're looking at possibly extending that, come and talk to us, because we're actually very keen to increase the number of permit holders at higher level in the county. And we'll give you, there's financial support available to help you get there too.
There's a couple of questions around sort of number of explorers per unit, and I guess this goes back to your question, Simon, around ratio of adults to young people, but is there a minimum or maximum number of explorers per unit?
No. You need to work out for yourselves what's the right ratio, obviously, of young people to leaders, but there's no minimum or maximum. I would say if you've got a small number, you're much better off trying to combine with another unit just to get some economies of scale. But if you're a big unit, don't worry, though. That will be fine.
Okay. Anita, is the campsite a private property or a public one? will we be the only one on the campsite, or will there be other people there that aren't from this event?
Yeah, it's
Bill. Yeah, no, go on, Phil. I was going to say one for you.
It's a public campsite. So it will be other people on site. We will have a designated area for us. The campsite are going to put us as far away as possible from everyone else, I suspect. But it is a public campsite, so of course we will be required to behave. Not that we don't, but yeah, there will be other people around, but it will be as if we are camping in a public environment. But there's nothing to be worried about. We do that all the time with events and things like that, so it's nothing unusual.
Does of course mean proper toilet blocks, proper showers, and a swimming pool, I believe. Is that right? You don't get that many of them on your typical scout campsite, do you?
Nope.
Okay, there's
Uganda. Shore Beach, Uganda. Will was just put in the chat. Yeah.
Right. Well, Will's not invited.
There's a question here where I think they're a little bit confused about the pricing, Simon. So the question is, did you say that the 1,150 includes the explorer's transport, but the £500 per leader does not include transport? Which part of the explorer's journey to the site will be covered? So I think that just needs to be explained again.
Okay, so let me just clarify that. So if you're a young person participant, your price is to attend the Jamboree is 1,150, but on top of that, you have to get there and back again. So the 1,150 is from the point you arrive at the Jamboree site in the Alps to the point you leave the Jamboree site in the Alps. So you and your unit in your district have to add on the extra bits for your travel to and from the event. And the same applies for your unit leaders that are taking you. The only difference is if you want to come in as part of the event delivery team, this is where I may have confused people slightly, we are working on a way to get you down there for free, effectively. So you probably won't have to pay any extra travel. Phil's hiring a load of MPVs and we're all driving ourselves down in a big convoy, apparently. Is that right, Phil?
Yeah, hopefully. Yep, you're right. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Somebody who obviously can't do without their phone, they've asked, would phones be allowed to be taken?
Yes, we can't say no to that in this day and age, can we? Phones are allowed to be taken. But used in moderation, please.
If your unit wants to do an activity while travelling to the Jamboree, does everyone have to do that activity? I think that's a question for your unit.
Yeah, again, I think that's a question for your units is to organise. That's we would encourage you to do it. I think, as Connor says, even for the activities that we're doing, we encourage you to do it. But again, it's a decision that is local to you.
A question here about top awards. Could this be used for the Platinum Award?
Yeah, it could be.
One for Bob about the site. Are fires allowed on the site?
They are very careful about allowing fires on the site, and essentially, no, you won't be able to just go and light your fire. We'll be cooking on gas. We may be able to sort out something like a campfire, but we'll need special permission to do that.
And I think our friend with the phone is worried now about getting power for charging the phones. Will there be access to power to charge his phone?
That will be down to you. So don't worry. We had people in Uganda with phones, so do not worry.
I'll need to charge my phone, so don't panic. You'll be fine.
You just steal Simon's battery pack or whatever, then you'll be fine then.
Yeah.
So this is a question around network members. Who should individual network members contact about interest in the event for coordinating getting there and fundraising?
So shall I touch that? So then we are looking at, so if district wants to arrange, if there's enough network members in a district or across a few districts that want to combine and become one unit as network, that is absolutely fine, and there'll be a way for you to book off the phone of that. However, we are conscious that there are network members spread across the county, so the county will be putting on a county run or county led unit. So if you don't want to go with a district or as a group as a district, you'll be joining as a county, and the sign up will be via the county, and we'll make that all explain that very clearly when sign up opens.
Two more questions, actually three more questions. How many people are you roughly expecting to go?
Lots.
Well, It'll be a guess, but you know, around 100 would be a guess. Young people plus associated adults, but it could be less than that. It could be more than that. It's really a finger in the air at the moment. We really don't know.
And then there's a question here: if other families stayed locally to the site, would the adults get days off to go and spend with them if they were helping as part of the team?
Possibly. Worth talk to us about that. Yeah.
And Wayne's given some advice. It refires. There's a barbecue pit on site for use by campers. And he's also said earlier that there was a train station a couple of miles away. So that's helpful. And one thing, Simon, can you just clarify yet again the age restrictions for who can and can't go? So what's the criteria for attendance?
Okay, so it's not so much an age restriction as a membership requirement. So you must be a member of an Explorer Scout unit in Berkshire. To be a member of an Explorer Scout unit, your minimum age is 13 and a half, but you can be anything up to 14 and a half when you join, so there's a bit of flexibility. So as long as you've joined an Explorer Scout unit by next August, so if you're going to be anything above 13 and a half, I guess, cutting to the chase, you should be able to join an Explorer Scout unit. And at the top end, it's 25. So between that bottom age range and 25 is the age range.
And how much time will explorers have on their own, like free time to explore the areas?
Connor? Not that much.
There will hopefully be time within the program to have some free time. There'll be an on-site day for sure, and there'll also be evening programs as well, which you obviously don't have to take part in, but there will be opportunities for you guys to take kind of part in some socializing activities and those kind of things. So there will definitely be free time built into the program for you. Do not worry.
Sarah, I'm looking at the clock, Sarah. I think we ought to perhaps, I don't know how many more questions there might be, but maybe just one more question, then we probably ought to cover the rest of them. Are we done? Oh, okay.
Yep, we're done.
Okay.
Oh, somebody said, so there's somebody that will be 14 on the 21st of August.
That's fine, as long as they've joined an Explorer Scout unit, which they will be eligible to do by then, they'll be fine. Yeah. Okay, so let's call it to a halt then. So hopefully you found that hour and a quarter useful. Hopefully it's given you all the information you need at the moment to start to form an opinion as to whether this looks exciting to you. Hopefully it does. As you can see, we're sort of very early stages. We've got lots more planning to do, but we now need you to jump on board and come and join us on this exciting journey. So watch this space. Watch out for more information coming out over the next few days and a few weeks and months, but get stuck into your unit leaders and your units and your mates, and let's see how many people from Berkshire we can get to the Alps in 2022. Thanks for joining.